Coming at you live from America's podcast studio, Eric the Turf Teacher Jones. The landscape contractor and green industry platform for success. This is the Podscape, brought to you by LMN Software.
And welcome everyone to the Podscape with yours truly, the Turf Teacher. I've been gone a few days, but I'm going to tell you why. Had some family issues come up, so we're going to take care of that. But first and foremost, guys, what I want to talk about today, this early Tuesday morning, is pruning. There are so many people out there in these neighborhoods that I'm seeing incorrectly pruning, and that's what we're going to talk about on this episode of the Podscape. Before we get started today, I want to give a big shout out to LMN Software because none of this would be possible without them. I've personally been using their software in my own company, and so far it's been a complete game changer for my business. LMN is the most comprehensive landscape business management software in the industry. From budgeting, estimating, CRM, time tracking, and so much more, it's a simple do-it tool for your landscape business and provides a platform to scale your company to the next level. And the best part about LMN is they have a free version, which you can begin using today if you choose to. Just visit golmn.com/free to learn more and start taking advantage of the software that's helped me grow my business into a successful, sustainable, and profitable company. That's golmn.com/free. golmn.com/free.
Eric the Turf Teacher Jones. Oh, yeah! Teaching you life lessons, business strategies, and leadership.
Let's grow together.
Okay, so we're talking about pruning. Or the incorrect pruning that I'm seeing going on in all these neighborhoods. We're seeing it every single day, and it drives me crazy. Pruning is the most frequently misunderstood but critical function in directing the development of plants to fulfill the intent of the landscape designer or landscape architect. Even our customer, we're supposed to develop this plant and help it grow and nurture it into what it's supposed to look like. But instead, we pull out all the hedge clippers and we murder them. We kill them and we make them look like crap. I wish they would have like a landscape Olympics and people test their skills with pruning. I know they have it at the collegiate level. I mean, we do it. You know, we send students to the student competitions, but what about if we had it for us? Landscaper Olympics, pruning by hand, running a string trimmer the best way it needs to be, the whole 9 yards. Pruning would probably be one of the most difficult things to win a gold medal in, especially if I'm the judge, because I am very critical at it, very critical of it. But proper pruning techniques requires time and understanding of the plant's habit, biology, and the overall function of the design. So what's that telling you? I've always stated this in pesticide classes. The number one reason we have a pesticide failure is incorrectly identifying the pest. So not understanding the plant, not identifying the plant correctly, and knowing the biology of the plant is a reason that we would have bad pruning. Guys, you got to learn your plants. First and foremost, you got to know what the plant is before you can prune it. You need to know its biology. You need to know the plant science behind it. When does it bloom? Why does it bloom? The whole thing about the plants. You have to know it, but nobody does. Nobody does. Too many people calling compacta hollies boxwoods. I see it all over YouTube. I see it all over Instagram. We're getting ready to prune these boxwoods here, and I'm like scratching my head. That's Alex Crenata compacta. Why are we mixing that up with Buxus sempervirens? No. But people don't know it. Please learn those plants. So why do we prune? The number one reason we prune is to maintain the size and natural form of our plant material. maintain the size, but I think more importantly out of this statement is the natural form of the plant. The natural form. When you take out a pair of hedge clippers and cut any shrub, you are not pruning it to its natural form. Now, I'll tell you straight up, it was my mother and my aunt, Sylvia Jones and Carol Moore. They're sisters. They're the ones that taught me how to prune by hand. Straight up. I give credit where credit is due. And I hated it. Ladies and gentlemen. I was 13, 14, 15 years old out there when we would get done with some of our mowing sites. And Dad basically kept me and my brother on the larger sites because there's always crew members there. He couldn't, turn us free by ourselves. There was always crew members. And so we were always there, and we'd run push mowers. We had an 80-acre property that had about 140 homes in it. And the front yards were so tiny that we push mowed them. And me and my brother could do it in about a day and a half, 2 days, even 2.5 days when it was March, April, and the grass was thick, but we would push it. We didn't get to play sports and stuff after school. I mean, we did some, but, if there was a chance for us to go to work, Mom was picking us up and taking us to a job site, and we would push mow. And when all the mowing was done for the week, we started pruning with my mom and my aunt. And I learned the correct way to prune. So thank God for that. And, those are moments that I cherish now. But like I said, I did not like it when I was 14 years old and seeing my buddies hang out at the pool or hear them talking about it. I didn't see it because there was no Facebook. But when I found out they went to the pool and I was out there working, it wasn't fun. But I thank God for it every day right now. Pruning also maintains the health of landscape plants by removing the dead, the diseased, branches that are rubbing, or even branches that are just damaged. And trust me, if we check on these plants like we should, and we cut out the bad things that I just stated, we're not necessarily going to have to butcher them. If you were to go and check on your crepe myrtles that are on the property, I guarantee you we wouldn't have crepe myrtling. And I have a whole theory on that. People see it on YouTube and they see it on Instagram. They see these influencers and they think, man, they're cutting their crepe myrtles. I got to do the same. No, you don't. It's called pollarding. Pollarding is when you top the trees. We don't necessarily have to do it. I don't like doing it, but there are times that you're going to do it because you know what? Your customer is going to ask you to do it. And I see guys topping crepe myrtles, and then I look down and look into the branches, and they're rubbing. There's diseased. There's dead limbs. You just pruned the top of a dead limb. Why didn't you cut the thing out? And we wouldn't necessarily have to top them. Maintain them early. Cut out the bad at an early age, and they're not going to get so big and actually have to top them. And we'll talk a little bit more about pollarding here, either in this episode or the next one. We're gonna discuss pruning over the next couple days. But you want to clean out the trees. You want to clean out the shrubs. Removing a lot of that dead, you're not going to have to worry about anything else. Pruning is also used to train young trees to their proper form for future development. You start them young. Remember, we've raised children, right? We're raising a business. Now we got to raise plant materials? Well, yes. I always say this. You have to baby your plants, especially when they're first planted. You do that and you nurture them. We feed them. We give them water. We talk to them. A lot of people say if you talk to your plants, they're going to grow and they're going to be happy. And it is true. They are. They're living, not humans, but they're living beings. And they're alive. So I'm sure, that there's things that we probably just don't understand with them truly. But we do know the science behind it. If you nurture them and you treat them right by cutting out the dead branches, they're going to develop a whole lot better down the road. You're going to have a better plant. We prune spent flowers or fruit. This will encourage development of flowers and fruits for the next season. It also encourages flowers on plants which bloom on the current season's growth. Yes, some plants, when you prune them, they'll bloom again. But more importantly, the ones that just bloom will need to be pruned. I'm seeing individuals out there in the neighborhoods right now hedge clipping azaleas. And I just want to go up there and be like, what in the world are you doing? They're getting ready to bloom. You're cutting all the blooms off right now. Why? Are you that ignorant? I watched it on YouTube, Eric. I seen them doing it. Exactly. You don't learn everything on the internet. If you were to prune your azaleas right now, you're going to lose every single bloom. Every single one. And then the customer's going to be calling you, why is it my azalea? What did you do to my azaleas? Well, I pruned them. No. You prune the azaleas right after they bloom. When the blooms are spent, they're done, they're over with. That's when you want to go in and hand prune them. But they're getting the shears out and making them look like hedgerows, boxes. Nice long row of rectangles. Almost looks like a ice cream sandwich in front of the house. No, azaleas are supposed to be wild and, look their natural form, kind of wild. Unbelievable. But they don't even know it's an azalea. They just know, I think them things getting a little hairy on top. I'm going to go ahead and prune them. Happens all the time. We also prune for safety. We prune for windows. The plants are growing above the windows, so we cut that, and that's fine. People want to see out. We have to prune trees underneath power lines, but for real, why are we planting tall trees underneath power lines? Why are we not using a dwarf version? Why do we plant maples underneath power lines? It happens all the time. Lighting, we have to prune trees sometimes when the street parking lots are being blocked. Again, that's a security reason, so that's another reason why they shouldn't be there in the first place. We have to prune when plants are grown too close to the roads and people can't back out or pull out safely from their driveway. That drives me absolutely insane. At the end of the driveway, you need an annual bed, seasonal color, and then your shrubs start back a little bit. You've got to give people that vision tunnel, that acceptable space to look both left and right before they pull out of the driveway. They may hit a pedestrian. They may back into another car. So you got to prune that. And then if it's damaging the house itself or any of the structures, I've seen tree roots uproot foundations. And I'm thinking, why did you plant this maple tree 5 feet from the house? Or maple trees over top of septic tank lines. Willow oaks over septic. Anything that's going to go after water, you shouldn't plant anything near a septic tank. You shouldn't plant really anything over top of it, except turf grass. But you got to prune for safety. And a lot of the times that's when topping occurs or crepe myrtle occurs just because of it. And I know a lot of people, they get extremely mad about the crepe myrtling. But think about this. If you were a tenant and you're paying $4,000 or $5,000 a month in rent and you're baking pizzas, for one, you've got to bake a lot of pizzas to pay that rent. And it's going to tick you off if that crepe myrtle is covering up your signage on your building. You're going to want it topped because you want people seeing Tony's Pizza. And Tony's Pizza is my favorite pizza in the whole wide world. Down at Calabash, North Carolina. I love Tony's Pizza. We had some this weekend. But, they're going to want those crepe myrtles pruned back so you can see the sign. And then if you're renting a sign out on the tower that's in front of the shopping center you're renting out of the space, they're charging you a little bit more to put a sign out there in the front. What if you're at the bottom and the crepe myrtles are covering it up? You want them cut back. So that's why I have mixed emotions about cutting the crepe myrtles. People call it crepe myrtle. I call it pollarding because that is the technical definition of it. So there are instances when you're going to do it. We prune plants in unnatural shapes when we are in a historical garden, an English garden, a formal garden. If you look back in history, the landscapes of the boxwoods that were sheared into hedgerows and made into like a maze, I think that's beautiful. That is the one time I say it's okay to get the hedge clipper out because that's the intent of the designer, remember? We were doing that. And these botanical gardens have people on staff that are taking care of the plants year-round. People also prune them in unnatural shapes to create topiary plants, which I love too. They're beautiful. So there are times when we can prune them to unnatural shapes. Pruning is also used to renovate old, overgrown plants and restore them to their proper landscape function and size. We want to do that. And so let's say we've got this shrub. In year one, we're going to remove about 1/3 of the oldest branches from the base. Then on the second year, after pruning it, you're going to see some light, you're going to see some air reach the center of the plant, which is going to help, kick in some new vigorous growth. For year 2 and 3, you're going to remove another 1/3 of the old wood in each of the following years. And then on year 3, after the old wood has been removed, it makes room for the vigorous new growth. So yeah, and what you do is you'd cut out that first time, you would cut out that center portion of it, allow that light and air to get down to it. And then on years 2 and 3, you would remove the outer edges of the branches. And you've got, voila, new vigorous growth on a plant. Pruning can also reduce shade and wind resistance. Now, this is more like thinning a tree instead of topping a tree. And that's okay. If you're a certified arborist, and that is one certification I recommend getting, is the certified arborist. For one, they can charge premium price for consultation fees. They do. I see it happen all the time. But you want to go in and remove some of the inner branches correctly. Not topping them off, but selectively pick out the branches that you want. This is going to allow wind to pass through. And it will reduce shade in some areas that you may need to reduce shade, especially if you're having trouble getting turf grass to grow underneath it. You'd want to thin it out a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with thinning a tree. You just don't want to top a tree. And pruning can compensate for root loss at planting. Yes, there is debates continuously going on about this. That's going to prove it otherwise. But a lot of people will prune a little bit when they plant a new tree. We don't do it. We don't do it at Elite Landscape Contractors, Inc. No, we don't. We leave them alone. And we've had great success with the thousands and thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of trees that we've planted over just my career. And then when you add mom and dad's time to it, probably 100,000 trees, to be honest with you. But we've never pruned a tree back when we plant it. We leave it alone. So, guys, if you're needing some pesticide credits, check this out. And when we return, we're going to talk about a pruning schedule.
Eric the Turf Teacher Jones. Teaching you life lessons, business strategies, and leadership.
Let's grow together.
If you're needing irrigation, landscape, or pesticide credits, check out my website at turfteacher.com. Every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m., we host Turf Talk Tuesday for pesticide credits and have online courses for both irrigation and landscape contractors. There are also several opportunities to get your credits at one of our seminars that we do throughout the southeastern United States and information on our Christmas lighting course. Check it out again at turfteacher.com. Okay, so we need to develop and schedule a pruning program. Now, I always give our customers what we call a landscape management plan, and I teach this at the college as well. When you create a landscape management plan, you're identifying every tree that's on site, every shrub that's on site, and you're telling your customer when you're going to prune these shrubs. You can't just go in and prune everything twice a year. You can't. I mean, you can, but you're not being a steward of the land when you do that. You're not doing right by your client or doing the plant materials right. You can't. You need to study the biology, and you need to know all plant material that's on site. Because pruning is an intricate part of the landscape management plan, and it should not interfere with any other duties that are taking place. Problems do occur when pruning is delayed for other activities or when the landscape supervisor has crews prune just to keep them busy. And that's what a lot of people do. Hey, we ain't got much to do this week. I think we're going to go crank up the hedge clippers and hit some of our properties. No. You can't do that. You can't do that. And you should not delay pruning just because something else is going on. When those azaleas bloom, get there and prune them. Don't be doing anything else. Don't do anything else. And we're going to talk about how we can do that. We're going to talk about how we can do that because we all have labor shortages, right? We do. Every single one of us has that. And so, but the first thing we got to do when doing this, you got to know what's on your property. Get your phone out. Get your digital camera out. Take inventory of what's there. It's called site inventory and analysis. Used heavily in landscape design and landscape architecture. Site inventory and site analysis. Site inventory is everything that's there. It's every tree. It's every shrub. It's every drain pipe. It's every wet spot in the yard. It's what exists on the property. The site analysis is your expert opinion of what needs to be done with everything that has been inventoried. So when it comes to pruning, you've got to inventory your deciduous shrubs, your evergreen shrubs, your roses, your vines, the flowering trees, your large shade trees, your pine or large conifers, and your ground covers. Everything needs to be documented. And it needs to be in a nice little folder or digital folder with your customers' properties. Now, a lot of people, they don't have that many plants on their properties, especially the vinyl siding box houses that we do a lot of work in. They've got 2 trees and they've got 10 shrubs, 5 on each side of the stoop going into the house. Doesn't take long to do that. One digital photo, and you can have that in the client's folder. You can put that in LMN software, a digital picture of the person's property, and you know exactly what's there. Some of the larger properties, if you're taking care of an 80-acre site that we're used to, it's going to take a while to inventory that. But you would want to do that. You'd want to take the time. After you got the contract, you're not going to spend that much time up front doing all that, but you want to have a landscape management plan for this property. Know what the plant materials are. That way you know when to prune it. Then you can prune it. And so how do we handle all this pruning? Well, do you have one specialized crew to prune all the company sites? That's what I absolutely love. It's my favorite way to do it. I don't even like my mowing guys to have a backpack sprayer on the truck. I want my mowing guys mowing grass straight up. Because if you've got a 1 or 2 person crew, and well, let's not take that back. One person, if it's a 1 person crew, they could probably do it all. But nobody likes to mow by themselves. So you at least got 2 people in the truck. A lot of you carry 3 people in the truck, maybe 4. Well, unless you've got 4 backpacks on that truck, guess what's going to be happening when all the mowing's done? You're going to have 3 of them sitting in the truck and 1 backpack spraying. That's not going to happen. When I've got that much money tapped up in Walker mowers and Skag mowers, you know what? Those things better be running hot. I want them mowing all day long. I don't want them sitting on the truck with 2 guys in there on their phone while we got 1 person walking around a 1-acre site spraying weeds in the shrub bed. No, I'm going to have an individual spraying team go out and do that. And usually that's 1 person. Set up a spray truck. They go and manage all of it. You also are going to have the same, if you handle this the same way with pruning, it's going to be a little bit better. Have a pruning crew. 2 people, 3 people, however you want to do it, sometimes 1. Man, I tell you what, there ain't nothing I love more than putting in my AirPods and listening to the Podscape, listening to that turf teacher talk while I'm standing there pruning shrubs. No, I'm just kidding, guys. I'm not going to listen to myself, but I am going to listen to other green industry documentaries and YouTube videos and stuff that interests me, or I'm going to jam a little bit. Beautiful day like today. Oh my gosh. Why do I want to be in the office? I want to be out there on a job site pruning, getting some sunshine, going ahead and getting those sunglass tan going on. But let 1 crew do it, or you can have 1 or more members of a general crew pruning their sites only. That maybe is okay to do it. Or you could have everyone prune. Or you could do some contract pruning. And I tell my students this all the time. I'm like, if you like pruning, you could get some premium wages per hour on pruning. A lot of landscape contractors would hire just a horticulture professional to do their contract pruning. That is a niche in this business that nobody is taking and running with. The hand pruning, the shrub and ornamental control. But nobody is. For one, people don't know their shrubs. They can identify their turf grass and identify the weeds and stuff in their geographic location, but people don't know their plant materials. People don't know it. But I'm going to have a specialized crew for pruning. And so your personnel must be able to identify the plant material. They must need to know it. And I would go ahead and have them become a certified plant professional. We have that here in North Carolina. North Carolina certified plant professional, just like we have the certified turf grass professional. You need to know your plants. You need to have an interest in pruning and respect for plants. You can't just, chop everything down and think it's A-okay. No, you've got to have the respect for those plant materials. And they must properly be trained or at least have some horticulture experience. Your personnel, what I'm talking about. They need to know. You've got to train them, or they've got to come from the community college, or they've got to have some type of certification saying that they know these plant materials. And specialized personnel can prune more efficiently and create better profits for you and your company. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. And you can make a lot of money. Guys, you're probably going to freak out when I tell you this, but you could charge anywhere from $80 to $90 an hour pruning. Hand pruning. Now, not everybody's going to go for it, and I know I'm probably going to get emails and stuff. Man, you're just stupid, Derek. Yeah, ain't going to happen. No, trust me. There are clients out there that will pay that for pruning. But you're not going to say, I'm $80 an hour. You're going to go in and you're going to give them a contract price to prune it. And that's going to be your average labor rate on a job like that. Yes, we will come in and selectively hand prune all of your shrubs on this property for X amount of dollars. They're going to be like, scratching their head trying to figure out. If anybody heard $80 an hour, they're not going to want to pay it. But you can get that. It's higher than mowing. And guess what? You don't have the expense of a mower. You don't have the expense of a fuel. You just got time on job site. So scheduling. Easy way to do it's calendar or use LMN software. Come on. We got to understand, though, that weather can modify our days of pruning. For one, the bloom dates on the plants. I mean, cherries are going hectic right now. I mean, it's a little late for cherries. They should have already been blooming. The Okomis are on fire right now, and it's at the end of March. Yoshinas are getting ready to open up, and that's here in North Carolina. We've just had a late year. Growth flushes. What about a burst of new growth in late summer, early fall, because we've had a warm fall? Plants are still going to grow. So schedule specific times for pruning according to the current year's growth pattern. So you can't really base it off last year's. You got to study this stuff. And when you're like, man, the Okomis are blooming late, that means probably azalea is going to be a little bit later. Magnolias are going to be a little bit later. That's just the way it is. Schedule to meet the needs as many plants on site as possible to minimize your trips and simplify the cleanup. But like I said, you can't go to someone's property and prune everything all at once. No. Pruning is an ongoing routine. And so you've got to have at least one guy on your mowing crew that can call in and say, hey, or type in the notes on LMN saying, hey, we need to prune the azaleas over at Mr. and Miss Smith's house. Or the camellia needs pruning at the Joneses down the street. They need to be able to recognize these things. Type it in the notes or let someone in the office know. And we can't ever forget that we may have to prune for storms or even construction. And those shouldn't be in your contracts. That's an extra charge. We can't help it if there is a hurricane or if there is a tornado or a mini tornado that tears down trees and stuff. That's not a part of the contract. You should be able to charge extra for that. Brush and debris handling. Always a little troublesome. How are you going to handle it? It's the final aspect of the job. It really is. Are you going to take it to the landfill? Are you going to recycle it? Are you using chippers? Are you throwing it on tarps? Are you throwing it in a dump trailer? Are you putting it on a truck and then you're having to rake it out? The perfect setup, I think, for pruning is either a small dump truck with a covered trailer or a pickup with a toolbox on it and a dump trailer. Either one works fine. It's depending on what you've got. I kind of like the dump truck with the covered trailer, like a small covered trailer, that's got your backpack blower in it so you can lock it up, a couple of them. You've got your rakes, you've got your tarps, you've got your mechanical shears just in case. You've got your hand pruners, you've got everything that you need, possibly a wheelbarrow or like a cart. But you want to be able to have the tools locked up. And some people say, well, why do we need a full cover trailer? Well, that stuff would fit in a toolbox on a pickup, and then you have a dump trailer. But you want to be able to get rid of your debris really, really quick. You don't want to have to come back to the shop and rake it off trucks and stuff like that. I've seen people do that, and it does not make sense not to have a dump trailer or a dump truck. But that works perfect with pruning. And if you're not doing that all year round, you can use that dump truck, or pickup for snow removal. You can use it for Christmas lighting, whatever it is. The pruning crew is going to be able to do some of your other winter work as well. And then developing your standards or having standards. Why not look at the pruning guidelines by the International Society of Arboriculture, the ISA? Why not become a certified arborist and learn how to correctly identify these trees and learn what their biology is? That is everything that you need to have. I mean, seriously, you become a certified plant professional, a certified arborist, you are good to go on the pruning aspects of any landscape contracting business. Timing of pruning. Appropriate pruning depends on the plant species, its condition, and the desired results of your customer. You're going to prune plants that flower early in the spring, hint, hint, the azaleas. You're going to prune them early in spring from buds formed during the past season, 1-year-old wood, at the end of their blooming period. And you know what? When the azaleas bloom and you prune them right after that, that's getting that azalea geared up for next year. It's like their one time of year that they have a party, right? It's kind of like their birthday. Everybody gets excited on their birthday, and you seem like you wait all year for it. I'm talking about kids. I'm not talking about us old men. But they get excited, and pruning them right after they bloom, it just gets them fired up for next year. You're going to prune trees and shrubs that flower during the summer or fall during the dormant season just before growth begins. You'll prune your needle leaf evergreens during the dormant season anytime the wood is not frozen, and then you'll prune broadleaf evergreens prized for their flowers just after blooming. Avoid pruning in the late summer where winter damage can be significant. And what I'm talking about here is every time you prune, you're going to generate a flush of growth. You are. And let's say we've had kind of a warm early fall, and then we prune it because we've had some shoots grow. Your customer's going to be like, prune it. And then we still have a few more warm days, and then boom, that newer, fresher growth is going to be killed if we all of a sudden get a hard freeze. So if we'd have left it alone and let it harden up a little bit, the plant would have been fine. But that new flush of growth, if it gets, damaged, it could kill the plant. And then the customer's going to be blaming you. They are. They are going to blame you. Prune wounds on trees will close more rapidly if cuts are made shortly before or just after growth begins. And then some trees known as bleeders, they lose considerable amounts of sap if pruned early in the spring. This is not harmful, but it may be undesirable to the client, especially if it's dripping on their cars, their sidewalks, other plant materials, kids' swing sets, whatever. You got to be careful when doing that. And so, guys, I am going to wrap up this episode of the Podscape on pruning, and tomorrow we will catch back up with pruning equipment. Thank you, guys, and I will talk to you in the next lecture. For more landscape business expert advice, check out golmn.com/blog. And once again, a massive shout out to LMN Software for sponsoring this podcast and making it all happen. LMN is the most comprehensive landscape business management software in the industry. From budgeting, estimating, customer relationship management, time tracking, and so much more, it's the true do-it-all tool for your landscape business and provides a platform to scale your company to the next level. And the best part about LMN is that they have a free version which you can use today if you choose to. Just visit golmn.com/free to learn more and start taking advantage of the software that's helped me grow my business into a successful, sustainable, and profitable company. That's golmn.com/free. And thanks again, everyone, and I'll see you in the next lecture. And that wraps up this episode of the Podscape. Thank you so much for joining us here, guys. I love each and every one of you. Life lessons and landscape lectures brought to you by the Turf Teacher and LMN software. We'll see you in the next episode. Turf Teacher out.